Minister Boyle, the rental rates in Canada and specifically in British Columbia are falling at a rapid pace. And this report out by rentals.ca says that the 5 major cities are among the 15 largest rent decreases for purpose-built apartment rents, with Richmond falling upwards of 16%, New Westminster more than 11%, Burnaby more than 10%, and Surrey more than 7%. This is a result of the government policies that your government put into place. How are you looking at these numbers?
Yeah, this is one piece of making housing more affordable, and certainly after seeing rent prices skyrocket for more than a decade, this is welcome relief to lots of British Columbians who live and work in our communities and contribute so much to them. It's one piece of the puzzle. The other big focus of our government has been on working with home builders to deliver more homes at a lower cost, so that more people can get into home ownership. That's been a big focus for us, and we're taking action on a number of fronts on that issue as well.
Housing market's been quite shaky, Minister Boyle, and a lot of builders, their projects are going into receivership. Many builders are holding off on starting new projects because there aren't any buyers. Are you looking at any policy adjustments on that side so that the real estate market and the construction sector can especially be kick-started?
Yeah, we are. I share the concerns about the slowdown in the market and what that means for builders and for residents. So we have been hearing those concerns. We're negotiating right now a deal with the federal government on infrastructure and on reducing development costs. The federal government announced a deal with Ontario recently, and we're fighting hard to make sure BC gets just as good a deal out here.
But Minister, aren't there things that British Columbia, your government, your ministry can do at your own level? It's one thing negotiating with the federal government to get some relaxation the way they've done things in Ontario. But aren't there things that your ministry can do at your own level to ease some of the stress in the housing market, in the construction sector?
Yes, absolutely. And we keep hearing from industry and working with them on suggestions like that. I introduced legislation in the House 2 weeks ago to broaden the types of housing that can qualify for development charge reductions, so that we can, as we hear about the challenges that home builders are facing, we can work with all levels of government to be reducing those costs to build across housing types.
With falling rents, do you think now we are finally at a situation where maybe your government can look at easing some of the short-term rental restrictions that have been put in place?
The legislation on short-term rental included a rule, I guess you could say, that when a community has gotten their vacancy rate to a healthy level for 2 years in a row, then they could look at changes to the short-term rental policy. There are some communities who have gotten to that level. Kelowna is likely the first one. Their vacancy rate is at quite a healthy level. And so we're having conversations with Kelowna about what the next steps are on short-term rental.
Minister, with housing starts projected to drop this year, what specific policy red tape are you willing to cut to get the private sector moving again and building again?
In particular, we're looking at development cost charges and how we can reduce those to reduce the cost of building, which we know will make a difference in terms of projects that have been started and gotten stuck, like you said, or projects that haven't even gotten started because of the slow market.
So the development cost charges, according to you, there's nothing that can be done about it until the federal government steps in?
The primary goal right now is to get a Made in BC deal like Ontario got, to make sure that those federal dollars make it out here. We know BC often has to fight twice as hard to get as good a deal as Ontario. Those federal dollars would mean reducing development cost charges while still investing in infrastructure in communities that makes our communities stronger. Underground sewer and utility infrastructure, but also things like parks, and I was glad to be part of the opening of the ice rinks in Surrey that were funded through provincial infrastructure dollars. If we can get federal dollars here, we can continue to reduce the cost to deliver homes and stretch those infrastructure investments even further.
Mm-hmm. How would you impress upon this thing about the reduction in DCCs with Metro Vancouver? It's not like that cities in the region have not done their own part in reducing the DCC. Vancouver has reduced it. Surrey has rolled back its own portion of the DCC to the 2023 levels. But Metro Vancouver has not budged on giving any relief on the DCC increase, despite several big builders writing letters to them about the impact of the increase in the DCC. So how are you going to impress upon Metro Vancouver? Are there any changes or any kind of bindings you're looking at from that angle to make Metro Vancouver more accountable?
Yeah, there are a number of challenges that Metro Vancouver is facing right now that are conversations that we're having with them. The development cost charges is one of them, and a larger governance conversation that Metro Vancouver needs to be having to improve how the organization is run. They are doing a governance review, and the province is following that closely to see what comes out of it and if we will need to step in.
So there's still going to be more time, because Metro Vancouver has been marred in controversy for several months now, upwards of a year. And there have been calls for the province to step in with not much action at the provincial level. What's holding you back, Minister?
They have initiated their own governance review, and so we're watching that. It's always my hope first that local government, or in this case a regional district like Metro Vancouver, can come to the table and find solutions themselves. Metro Vancouver is made up of elected leaders from all over the region, and I know there are some very smart and thoughtful, hardworking people there. I'm watching to see what their governance committee comes up with in terms of solutions, and then we'll go from there. But always hope first that they are coming to the table with leadership and solutions.
With regards to kickstarting the real estate market and making this environment where all these unsold condominium units and more that are going to be constructed in the coming months do actually have buyers, are you willing to look at the policy of the ban on foreign buyers? Maybe not open up the market entirely to foreign buyers, but have some sort of a controlled environment where maybe a foreign investor can buy 1 or 2 units, and that's the maximum they can hold. Is there now, are we at a point where that policy can be tweaked?
It's not at the top of our list right now. I'm certainly always open to hearing ideas. What I want to avoid is going backwards to where we were 10 plus years ago, where housing costs were skyrocketing and local people couldn't afford to get into the housing market, and homes were sitting empty as investments. We don't want to go back there. But
now homes are going unsold, and developers are not starting new projects because they cannot pre-sell their units. Banks are not giving them the loan that they need to get the project going. And if there are no buyers, there is no construction. We would eventually end up in the position of higher prices when demand springs back up again. Don't you think so?
Yes, I hear you, and these are the same things that keep me awake and worried at night. So we're looking at a number of different options, and industry has been advocating for a number of options. Ontario got funding from the federal government to waive their HST, and so we're looking at is there a conversation we can have with the federal government on GST? There have been ideas floated around a condo acquisition fund, many other options. We really are in a moment of all ideas on the table to ensure we can keep delivering homes, keep building homes, because we know it makes a difference for people and for finding a good home in the community they love.
Minister, I'll ask you this again. It seems to me that we're looking for solutions and always looking at the senior level of government to do something on their part, which is okay. Which is there is nothing wrong with that. But what can your government do at its own level to help the struggling real estate sector right now? Many of our listeners work in skilled trades, and they are worried that the project that they're working on, once that is done, they do not have a project to go to. So they're worried about their job stability. What can your government do to spur up that industry, to stabilize it?
Yeah, that's what we're focused on right now. And like I said, industry and home builders have been providing a lot of recommendations, and we are in the weeds of figuring out what we can do quickly and what would make the most difference in terms of keeping stuck projects moving forward and continuing to deliver. We've been working hard with local governments and sometimes needing to push local governments to allow more homes to be built in every part of the province. Just last week or earlier this week, I had to override West Vancouver, where they had limits on the types of housing that could be built and were not doing their fair share like many other communities are. West Vancouver wasn't doing their share to build more homes, and so the province stepped in and implemented zoning there. It was a first case for us in BC where we have stepped in and done that.
It's great to build more homes, but what's the point of building those homes if they go unsold and unoccupied, as is the case in many Metro Vancouver condos?
Yeah, that's why we're working at every stage of the problem, getting more homes started and more homes delivered at a reduced cost to build those homes so that it's a reduced cost for people to purchase them.
Minister, my last question, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the worst, 10 being the best, how problematic or how much of a crisis do you see in the BC real estate sector?
Right now, I don't know how to put it in a number. That's a hard question. I'm concerned about the state that things are at right now, and we're all concerned looking forward, which is why we're working so hard to find solutions that change course, because things are a bit precarious right now, but mostly what I hear is concern about the trajectory about where we're headed, and we want to make sure that they don't get worse, that projects keep moving. So I am listening and working hard, and always welcome more ideas from everyone from the skilled trades. And as a government, we've been making big investments in skilled trades to small home builders and all the way up to hear their ideas about what would really make a difference in terms of getting those projects moving.